funny is I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about Corbin Carroll and the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. Yeah, they just got absolutely mollywopped by the Braves 17-2. So I don't know if I'm just a bad luck charm. I had another video planned for a few days ago, and I was talking about a few other teams I'm not going to mention because still want to make the video. And it was funny because I had brought up the ideas to myself. I wrote a bunch of stuff down, and like immediately right after, like that night, like those teams stunk it up. And like those players that I was going to talk about were terrible. And I was like, the Reds effect, I guess on this channel, the throw and Chet effect is real. Like I really do jinx players. So really hope and pray that I'm not going to jinx the Diamondbacks or jinx Corbin Carroll in particular. But I wanted to start this video off by proposing a question to you guys on who is the most underrated player in baseball right now. I feel like over the course of the last 6 to 8 years, it was always Jose Ramirez. And I mean, rightfully so. He never got the love that he deserved in Cleveland. I understand. Small market team. They would be good enough to make the playoffs, but they weren't good enough to, overcome the best teams. He would always perform well. Jose Ramirez was always one of those guys that would finish top 5, top 8, top 10 in MVP. He was going to get the Silver Sluggers at third base. He was going to rack up all these awards, but he never was looked at as the best third baseman, and I don't know why, because he was. Yes, there was a lot of years where Nolan Arenado was the best third baseman, and there was other guys like Bregman had his time. Rafael Devers had a few years where he was kind of looked at as like one of the better players before he kind of frizzled off a little bit with the whole Giants Red Sox type of thing last year. I feel like he hasn't really been in the mix as much over the last year or so. He could easily come back into that conversation. There was a few years ago where like Matt Chapman, when he was at his defensive prowess and he was like unreal at third base, he was kind of in the conversation, I guess. Guys like Chris Bryant a few years ago when he was there. I don't want to get off topic when I'm talking about underrated players, but Jose Ramirez was kind of like the poster boy over the last like 6 to 8 years as far as like underrated players go. And I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys like, who do you believe is the most underrated player in baseball? Is it still Jose Ramirez? Does he not get the love that he deserves? Because in my opinion, I think he is getting that love now. I think mainstream media and honestly all fans of baseball kind of really realize Jose Ramirez is really good. Like he's a top 10 player in baseball. Like Jose Ramirez is phenomenal. There's another guy that I wanted to talk to you guys about that plays in Arizona, and his name is Corbin Carroll. In my opinion, I think over the last few years, this man has been the most underrated player in baseball, hands down. And coming into this season, he had a home run the other day against Tarek Skubal, lefty. Yeah, I think that was kind of like it was like, yeah, you know what? I got to get on here and talk about this guy because not only is he one of my favorite players in baseball, I don't think this man gets the love that he deserves. And I don't know if it's because he plays in Arizona. I don't know if Arizona is this team that should be better than what they are. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a team that might not have the fans that they should right now. Like, I feel like casual fans or casual media or the mainstream media, when they talk about Arizona, they talk about the Diamondbacks, they talk about Ketel Marte. And I mean, Ketel Marte is an incredible player. He's one of the best players in all of baseball for sure. But in my opinion, and this might be a bit of a hot take, I'm going Corbin Carroll over Ketel. That might be a bit of a hot take. That might be a bit of a hot take. I wanted to say 1A and 1B, but I'm riding with my guy, man. I'm riding with Corbin Carroll. He is my guy. He is my player now. Screw everybody else. It is all Corbin Carroll. Take a look at his baseball reference. We're going to be looking at a lot of baseball reference, a lot of advanced analytics on this channel. It is one of my favorite websites to look at as far as like history and like, players' careers and whatnot. But let's take a look real quick. But I wanted to show you guys a little bit of Corbin Carroll's baseball reference page, and particularly just kind of his basic analytics right now. I know that baseball reference might not be the best spot to look at WAR, but I still like to look at the B-WAR. I know F4 is relatively similar to B-WAR. There's really not that much of a difference. I know that F4 might favor defense in different positions. B-WAR is a little bit more different with that. F4 might also value like how bad a defender is as opposed to Bieber, but as far as like base analytics, and which I feel like a lot of casuals would more understand, Baseball Reference is kind of your go-to, and I do like looking at Bieber. If we look at somebody like Corbin Carroll, he came up in 2022. He had played 32 games, which was obviously not enough sample size to be a rookie. He ended up getting his rookie scale in 2023, where he posted a 868 OPS with a 133 OPS plus, fifth and MVP as a rookie, obviously winning Rookie of the Year. He was an All-Star that season. Put up a 5.3 B-WAR. Led the league in triples that season. Following the next two, we had 14 in 2024 and 17 of last season. Almost got that, what was it, the 2020-2020 game? Or season, sorry, the 2020-20 season. Which I believe the last person to do that was back in 2007 when Jimmy Rollins and Curtis Granderson did it. So he was so close to getting that, man. He was really, really close. He had a 139 OPS plus last season. The 2024 season, yes, he was dealing with a bit of an injury. And I remember when that season was going on, there were so many fans, media, Arizona Diamondbacks fans that were really low on Corbin Carroll. And I'm like, man, I'm not low on Corbin. I don't think he's going to be a bad player. He's fine. I know that he was dealing with the injury. I was the one that was like, he's dealing with an injury, guys. He's going to be fine. Like, I know that that's kind of a consensus thing. Like, when a player is playing bad that I like, or when a team's playing bad that I like, I try to look for the little things like, oh, this is why. Might not always be the best thing to look at, but Corbin Carroll, I knew that he was dealing with that injury that season, and I was like, you know what? This is why. He's going to bounce back in 2025. And what do you know, he did. And I mean, even when you look at his 2024 season where he was hurt, he still put up almost a 4-WAR season, which, yes, widely carried by his defense and his base running, of course, but he still mashed 22 home runs. He still stole 35 bases. He still had 22 doubles. He still had 14 triples. He still had a league average 106 OPS plus, which is right around league average, still better than league average. So he was still okay in 2024. I know after his rookie season, you kind of want to, set him to a standard and whatnot. But then, man, did he bounce back last season. He ended up having a 5.8 WAR, better than his rookie season. Finished 6th in MVP once again. So that is now 2 top 10 finishes, 2 top 6 finishes in MVP in the NL, a league where there's so much talent. We've had guys like Juan Soto, we've had Shohei Ohtani's there, of course. Freddie Freeman's been there for a lot of years. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper. The NL is really, really stacked when it comes to talent. Fernando Tatis, of course. There's so many guys in the NL. So the fact that he finished 5th in his rookie season and then 6th last year is really, really incredible. So that right there should be enough right there, in my opinion, man. That is a top 10 player in all baseball, in my opinion. And then obviously to start this season, obviously extremely small sample size. Game number 7 has just wrapped up. It only shows 6 right there right now, but the 7th game did just finish, and obviously they got mollywopped. But he has 2 home runs in the season. Coming into tonight's game, he was hitting .333 with a 400 on-base percentage and 1162 OPS. He's been looking good for the Arizona Diamondbacks, which are a team that, I kind of wanted to talk about them, but after tonight's game, it's kind of tough to really talk about them in a bright light. But the Diamondbacks are a weird team where let me come back on over here real quick. The little full screen, you guys can see my white pasty face. But the Diamondbacks are a weird team to me because they made the World Series in 2023. They lost to the Texas Rangers. After that, I feel like they were looked at a team of like, okay, can they get there again? Can they do this again? Can they repeat what they did the season prior? And I think the team has changed so much since then. Like, they don't have Christian Walker anymore. They went and got Eugenio Suarez. He's gone now. Josh Naylor was there for half a season. He was traded away. Started rotation pieces. They traded away Merrill Kelly. He's back now. I know Paul Sewald is with them again, but like he was like their closer in 2023. He had fallen off for a little bit. Brandon Pfaadt hasn't been the same guy he was in 2023. The Arizona Diamondbacks also have been dealing with so many injuries over the last few years. They signed Corbin Burns. He went down with a big injury. Don't know when he's going to come back. Eduardo Rodriguez, they signed to a big-time contract. He's been terrible with them. Hopefully he stays healthy, and hopefully he kind of comes back to light a little bit, because Erod was a good pitcher a few years ago, and I kind of liked that contract for them when they signed him to that. So made the big extension to Ketel Marte. I think the Diamondbacks did everything right. It's just either injuries had happened or untimely things like the Corbin Carroll down season in 2024 did not really help them very much. I'm happy, and I'm really happy that the GM decided not to trade away Ketel Marte or Corbin Carroll, because I look at this team like kind of like the Nationals from 2019, where they won. I mean, the Nationals won the World Series in 2019. Don't get it twisted. The Nationals won, and the Diamondbacks only made the World Series in 2023. So it's a little bit of a difference there. There's a little bit of a difference, but the Washington Nationals had traded away Juan Soto 2 years after winning the World Series, and it made sense. At the time, it was like, you know what? They got their ring. Let's go in a full rebuild. We had a lot of other, they had a lot of other older stars at the time. Traded away Trey, traded away Scherzer. Strasburg had been injured, so his contract didn't really get fulfilled. They had a lot of other guys that they traded away. Zimmerman had retired, of course. Rendon, the Rendon contract that they avoided. So there's a lot of stuff going on there for Washington. And at the time, I was like, man, I hate when teams let go of a young player early, like Juan Soto. But I was like, you know what? The Nationals won the World Series. They already got their ring. Soto got their ring while he was there. Like, it's okay. It's okay when a team does that. In that situation, it was a little bit different. Fast forward to this Arizona Diamondbacks team, and they made it in 2023, didn't win the World Series against the Rangers. 2 years later, there's rumors about them trading away Ketel Marte, who was a little bit older, which I could understand a little bit more. Then there was rumors about trading away Corbin Carroll, who is their star budding player, that if they do somehow go into a rebuild, or if they do go into a retool, he is such a great building block. And it would have been different if they had won in 2023, because it would have been similar to the Nationals team, where they could have traded away Corbin Carroll and it kind of would have made a little bit more sense. But I'm happy they're not trading away Corbin Carroll, and I hope that they keep him, because if they have some of these young guys that are coming up, Jose Fernandez has looked good so far. I don't know. He had a 2-homer game in his his debut the other night. He was getting comparisons to Carlos Correa on Twitter. I really, honestly, he looked very similar to Carlos Correa. Would love to see somebody like him turn into a really good player alongside Corbin. So then we also see Jordan Lawler. He just had his first career home run. I believe it was tonight. It may have been in tonight's game. I watched a little bit of that game, but obviously, yeah, it was not worth watching the entire thing. But I think Lawler did have his first career home run, whether that was tonight or last night. I'm completely forget. But either way, Jordan Lawler, I mean, he was on that team in 2023. That is nuts to think about. He was only 20 years old at the time. He was on that World Series runner-up team in 2023, and he really hasn't made any appearances in the MLB since. Like, he's really only appeared in like 100 games, or like not even. I don't even think 100 games total. So he's just been kind of there. And to see him hopefully having a full-time spot on the Diamondbacks roster this year, I know he's been hitting over 300 so far this season, so I would like to see him kind of continue that streak a little bit and kind of be like another guy alongside Corbin and hopefully Jose Fernandez and some of these other guys, because there for a while I thought, Alek Thomas was going to be like this next best thing, and he's been a good little player. I mean, Alek Thomas, the Diamondbacks wouldn't have made the World Series in 23 without him, so if he can, I guess there's a lot of players in baseball that you kind of take what you can get, right? Like, Alek Thomas is a good defender. He's a good little speed player. He's not an awful offensive player, but he's not a great offensive guy. So he's just a decent all-around player. And I feel like there's a lot of guys that you kind of got to like stop putting expectations on. And I think Alek Thomas is one of those guys for me. Like, a few years ago, I was like, oh man, Alek Thomas, he's like a young, upcoming star. It could be him and Corbin Carroll in the outfield together. Like, oh man, that's going to be a nasty duo. And Alek Thomas just wasn't able to hold his ground, which, instead of looking at it in a negative light, I kind of want to appreciate the player for who he is, instead of the expectations that either we put on him as fans or the media, or both, because I think that happens quite a bit. Then you look at somebody like Gabriel Moreno, who my Blue Jays traded away a few years ago, and I ain't gonna lie, at the time, I don't want to get too deeply into that conversation because that might be a conversation for a different video, but I'm okay with trading him away. The Diamondbacks is a good team for him to go to, and I think he's been really solid for them so far. We know he's a great defensive catcher. We know he's a very athletic catcher, especially for somebody of his size and his position. He might not be the best power bat, but honestly, if you can have a mixture of everything else in baseball as a catcher, I think that's really good. Like, we might be in an era right now where catchers are deemed to be a more of an offensive player than they were 10, 15 years ago. Like, we look at what Cal Raleigh just did last season. Like, that might skew a little bit of what people's outlooks are on catchers, which I understand. I get that, right? Like, we're in a different era now where catchers might be looked at as a more of an offensive player, or as they should be more of an offensive player than what they used to be. Gabriel Moreno has almost every tool in his bag as a catcher besides power. And I think we should appreciate everything else that he does as a player outside of the power. Like, he doesn't need to hit 10, 20 home runs a year to be a valuable player. I mean, we've seen him before win Gold Gloves. We've seen him before in big moments in the postseason. I mean, it's not like he can't hit home runs. He's hit home runs. He's hit big home runs for the Diamondbacks in the past. Like, he's a good little player. Like, he's definitely a top 10 catcher in all of baseball. I hope he stays healthy. The Diamondbacks have a few other guys in the farm system too. I know Drew Jones is a big-time star in the making. I know he's kind of fizzled down in the rankings a little bit. He's not like I don't even think he's a top 10 Diamondbacks prospect right now in a farm system which isn't too overly loaded. I hope that he can kind of pick it up. I know he's dealt with injuries the last couple of years, and he really hasn't made it out of Double-A or anything. He's still 22. He's got lots of time to grow. He's got lots of time to develop into the player that we think he can be. So they have some guys there. I would like to see some of their pitchers kind of develop because their rotation has been terrible. Their bullpen is not very good. Obviously, the injuries that they have dealt with. So the Diamondbacks is a weird team. I was going to come on here and kind of say like, oh, the Diamondbacks might be a fun team to watch this year. Well, tonight's game is not fun. Tonight's game is not fun whatsoever. So I'm not going to sit here and say that because that's not true. But Corbin Carroll is a fun player to watch, and I want people to realize how good of a player he is because in my opinion, he's a top 10 player in baseball. I don't want to hear any different. Now, realistically, I mean, he's probably like between 8 and 12, and like there's a few guys you could probably take over him, and I understand, but I want to see what you guys think is the most underrated player in baseball because it might not be Corbin Carroll to you guys. Is it still Jose Ramirez? Is it somebody else that I'm not even thinking about? I want to make another video talking about pitchers and like underrated pitchers because there's so many good underrated pitchers in baseball, and there's a lot of guys that I could really sit here and talk about and kind of dive deeper into some of their advanced stuff. One more quick thing I want to talk about a little bit is this is Baseball Savant. If you guys are on here and you aren't familiar with Baseball Savant, essentially, if you see a lot of red on this website, that means they're a good player. And Corbin Carroll from 2025 had a lot of red. You might not be able to see all the in particular numbers on this page, but essentially the top portion there where it shows value, it shows a graph out of 100. And if you were on the further side to 100, that means you were in a percentile out of the entire league. So if you were in the 100th percentile, you were the best player at that specific stat. If you were in the 90th percentile, that means you are better than 90% of the league in that specific stat. So somebody like Corbin Carroll from the year of 2025, he was in the 90th percentile in batting run value. He was in the 100th percentile in base running run value, which means he was the best base runner in all of baseball last year, and an 86th percentile in fielding run value. So 5-tool caliber player right there. Honestly, maybe even above that if you can get above that. So all the tools are right there. We look at some of this other stuff like xWOBA and expected batting average. I mean, some casual people might not fully know what that stuff is, but expected batting average means how lucky you are as a hitter. So like if his batting average is a little bit lower than his expected batting average, that means that he may have been a little bit unlucky. If his batting average is way higher than his expected batting average, that means that he was on the, the luckier side. Yeah, the luckier side. Sorry, I was getting my stuff mixed up, but yeah. So in 2025, he had a 70th percentile in expected batting average. So he was a little bit on one side as opposed to the other, which I mean, He was, I think, what did he hit? 251 last year. His expected batting average was 262. So I guess he got screwed over a little bit, but not enough to really make much of a difference. Look at this other stuff here. I mean, his average exit velo for a short, small guy, 5'10" player, 165 pounds. You see that there on the left. The fact that he's able to get an 89th percentile in exit velocity is unreal. I mean, barrel percentage being in the 90th percentile, hard hit percentage being in the 87th percentile. He is a phenomenal bat to ball player. Now, I'm not going to glaze over the blue stuff. If the stuff is in the blue, that means they're not very good at that stuff. So he is somebody that does chase a lot. He is somebody that strikes out a decent amount in the grand scheme of baseball. But if you see there at the bottom where it shows walk percentage and he's in the 74th percentile, that means that he does have a good walk rate. He's in the upper echelon as far as walking in all of baseball. So if somebody strikes out a lot, and this is the way that I kind of value somebody, if you strike out a lot at the plate, the value of being able to walk at the same time is like that kind of like almost fully diminishes the fact that you strike out a lot. Like, to me, if you're somebody that strikes out a lot and can't walk, then there's a problem. That's why it's so tough for me to really fully look at the whole vision of somebody like PCA who strikes out a lot, can't walk, he can't take a pitch to save his life. I know there's a lot of value in somebody like PCA, but there's other things in his game that I can't ignore. So for somebody like Corbin Carroll, even if he does strike out quite a bit, even if he does chase a lot and whiff a lot, his walk percentage is fine. Like, he still gets on base quite a lot. He still walks quite a bit. He still takes pitches. He still works. That honestly, that kind of just really shows how well he is at working the count. So that kind of diminishes some of his strikeout problems, in my opinion. This other stuff here, like his range in the outfield, his outs above average was one of the best in all of baseball last year. Could have arguably won a Gold Glove if it weren't for, Fernando Tatis out there in right field. So his range was incredible out there. His arm is not great, but his arm strength is not terrible. I mean, it's above league average. It's just his arm value. So he's not great at throwing out guys. He's not great at, if somebody's advancing from one spot to the next, he's not going to be great at kind of, making the right decisions and stuff, which is okay, I guess. Like, I mean, his range is going to be able to make up for a lot of that stuff. And of course, his arm strength is not terrible. With his sprint speed on top of that being in the 98th percentile, I know I had mentioned before how his stolen bases may have diminished a little bit as opposed to his rookie season, as opposed to his second season. That doesn't matter that doesn't mean anything if his sprint speed is still at the top of the league. In the 98th percentile, I would assume there may be, two players that have a higher sprint speed, which is probably, Bobby Witt, Chandler Simpson, maybe Ellie De La Cruz. So there's really only a handful of guys that are quicker than Corbin Carroll. So when you factor all of that stuff into one player, into everything about him, I just look at him as the most underrated player in baseball. So comment down below. Who is the most underrated player in baseball in your guys' opinion? Is it still Jose Ramirez? Am I right with Corbin Carroll? Or is there somebody else that you guys think is the most underrated player in baseball? Make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you guys are new. We're going to be doing a lot of rambling on this channel, man. I'm excited to just come on here and talk baseball, something that I'm so passionate about. There's going to be a lot of episodes on here. The Throw and Ched series, channel, whatever you guys want to call this. I'm going to call it a series because this is essentially what it is. It's just me rambling about baseball, something that I love, and it's something that I know you guys love too. So make sure to subscribe if you guys are new, and we will see you guys in the next one.